You're listening to Real Restaurant Radio, the show that inspires up-and-coming restaurant and bar owners, along with current operators, to pursue their passion in the restaurant business. I am your host, Kostas Lazanas, and I'm joined, as always, with my good friend, Cary Hodson. Let us guide you through the process of being a successful owner and teach you how to make an impact in today's culinary world. Welcome to Real Restaurant Radio, episode 14. You know, Cary, we don't toot our own horns enough, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of do it for us. We work super hard, and no one knows really. They know, obviously, that we own restaurants, but I kind of wanted to have this as a special edition episode, and I want to title this one, Who is Cary Hodson? And I kind of just sprung this on you really spontaneously. And I know you probably don't want to talk about yourself and all the things that you've done, but you've done a lot, and you've done a lot for the community of Garland and obviously for the craft beer industry in North Texas. And I'm just going to have to just force it out of you. I want our viewers to know a little bit more about you and kind of where you came from, what inspires you, and things like that. So if you don't mind.
Okay, let's do it. Your notepad's empty. I don't have anything either.
No, you know what? I was going to take a lot of notes, but I mean, we're friends. I want to stay on the surface, and we've got to know each other a lot over the past 6 months with the podcast, but there's a lot of things that I don't know about you that I also believe that the listeners don't know about you either. So I kind of wanted to take this time for, I guess, all of us to know a little bit more about Cary.
Okay. Kostas and Cary speed dating.
Well, cheers, my man. What did you bring today?
This is our rotating blonde ale. We don't always make the same light beer because we get bored, but we do know we always need something light on. This is called All Day or Day. So it's you're sitting at the pool, you know.
All day or day?
All day, every day.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, talking about Cary Hodson, I guess we can start off with, where you grew up at, and I can kind of answer this for you. Supposedly, you grew up 3 doors down from me.
I know, isn't that wild? Grew up in the same neighborhood, playing in the same creek.
That's so crazy. Yeah, so Cary Hodson actually grew up. I don't know if you want to give your address away, but literally
Glenbrook.
On Glenbrook Street, and I grew up on the same street as him. Not even the same neighborhood, the same street. Like the same part of the street. Like literally, I think 8 houses to be precise. 8 houses down.
I feel like I ran into you in the creek one day.
I think we did. So isn't that so crazy? Yeah. So Cary Hodson, you played in the creek as a child, and then where'd you go to high school at?
South Garland High School.
South Garland, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And after high school, what'd you do in high school? Like, were you like a jock, or were you into woodworking, or just kind of on your own? Like what was your genre? What was your clique?
Like skipping school was was my genre. I did tennis and choir.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Were you? What was your grades? B student? I mean, were you a good boy, or kind of like a rebel? Rebel phase.
I skipped a lot. I probably shouldn't have. I think I was just bored. I did graduate a Texas Scholar and almost got truancy. But they had these buyback classes, these buyback credits where you'd go after school. But somehow I got out of those too. So
were your parents really hard on you, or really involved like in your upbringing, or were they kind of aloof?
No, they were supportive and said I could do anything I wanted to do. Just really open-ended. So your senior year of high school, you decided to go to college. I started working at 15 and never stopped. By the time I graduated, I was working 3 jobs.
What made you want to get a job?
I just liked my independence. Bought a car, wanted to move out, that sort of thing.
Where'd you work at in high school?
I taught swim lessons at the pool down the street. Chuck E. Cheese.
Wait, Chuck E. Cheese?
Yeah.
Were you the mouse?
It's traumatizing. Yeah, I don't want
You really were the mouse?
Yes.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
I'll never let my kids go in the ball pit either. That place is gross.
Yeah, I think that's why they got rid of all the ball pits, right? Because they were so dirty. I guess.
Wow. How do you clean that? You can't.
Now you have to actually have like a Chuck E. Cheese beer at Intrinsic. You have to like bust out the old Chuck E. I think I can find one on Amazon for you to wear.
Oh no. No. Those days are over.
That's so funny.
I wasn't there throughout all high school, but then I started working for Remax, the realty company.
Doing what?
Well, it was at the time where all the contracts were going from paper to digital, and all the listings were being put online, and it was a big learning curve for the people who, the agents. So for a young whippersnapper, to come in who'd never seen a typewriter but definitely knew what a keyboard was, could come do all that stuff for him.
Okay. So at this point, you already had a few different jobs, and then you went off to college.
Yeah. Well, I worked for UPS for a while at night.
Just sorting packages?
Yep. And then
How was that?
it was okay.
It's a tough job, right? Long hours.
Yeah. It was. I considered it my gym membership that I got paid for.
Oh, a lot of heavy lifting, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
You're moving packages. Problem was, it was a lot of twisting. And boxes are kind of dirty. Your hands are black at the end of it. It's a tough job. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you went off to college. I think you went to UT. Is that correct?
no, my wife did. I
Okay.
bought a condo in Dallas actually, and just was working and going to community college. And then actually
Which community college did you go to?
East Hill in Richland.
Okay.
And actually, that condo caught on fire, and I got in a motorcycle wreck, and I lost my job, and I got mugged at gunpoint on my front porch as I was rebuilding it. So it's just kind of like a really crazy 3-month period.
How old were you then?
19, I think. Yeah, 2000. Yeah, 19.
That's crazy.
So survived that. My dad was there when I got mugged. We both took a pretty good beating.
Like physical? Like they actually beat you up physically?
Yeah, I was hit in the face with a shotgun 2 times.
Wow.
And then my dad was hit over the head a bunch. And they actually tried to shoot my dad. They jammed the shotgun in his gut and pulled the trigger, but he had broken the shotgun on my face.
Oh no.
So it was a traumatic time. And then we rebuilt the condo, and I ended up renting it out and following my girlfriend, now wife, to Austin, where we lived for a few years. And I worked there as I got into the restaurant industry again. I worked as a waiter at a cafe. I did valet driving, and then I worked for a company that did material testing and like concrete core samples. And I went to they were building a bunch of new high rises then, and I would test all the tension cables and engineering stuff.
It sounds like you learned a lot there doing that.
Yeah, I got my degree in construction management, and then I started taking furniture classes. And about halfway through my first class, I realized that I was in the advanced class, the 3rd course, and I never skipped a beat. So that's where I really discovered I was a craftsman and started my 7-year journey of furniture making.
Tell me the name of the company again, the furniture company you started?
I didn't start it, but I worked for David Sutherland.
But then you eventually started your own company. Is that correct? I saw that on one of your old Facebook pages.
Oh, August Woodworks. Yeah, I did some stuff on the side for myself, built a shop at my house, remodeled some homes.
Okay. So this is like the end of your college career. Or I guess you didn't go to college, right?
Yeah, I got my degree in construction management.
You did, down there with Molly, your wife.
And then the market crashed. I got laid off, and it was kind of at that point where, what do we do next? We've been dating for 3 or 4 years. We lived together.
This is 07, correct?
Don't tell my mom. No, that was 09, I think.
Okay.
Well, around that time, I guess.
08, 09. Yeah, whenever the
yeah.
market crashed. Sure.
It was at the end of that. Like, we survived the first, couple of years of it going down.
I think us here in Texas
had a stronger economy.
Texas was not as impacted as the rest of the nation.
Mm-hmm. And then she got a job back in our hometown at Caldwell Elementary, right up the street from here.
As a teacher, your wife did.
And we
moved back to Dallas.
Moved back and bid on a bunch of houses all over DFW as far as Levon, and the the 5th contract we put in finally stuck, and it ended up
just
being
a few
in
blocks,
our old neighborhood.
Just a few blocks from where you grew up at.
Yep. So back in Garland for good, I guess, at that point.
So you moved back to Garland from Austin.
Mm-hmm.
You're still doing your woodworking thing.
Yep.
And I think you told me this story already, but I guess while you were woodworking, you had a friend that was brewing some beer, something like that?
Yeah, so woodworking as a hobby turned into my day job, and so there was room for a new hobby. And I saw a friend who posted on Facebook that he was brewing with his dad, and I thought that was illegal, but it turns out it wasn't. And
what year was this, you think?
Gosh, that must have been 2009.
2009.
Mm-hmm.
That's way before the craft beer scene really exploded here in DFW.
I think there were
I think that
2 breweries, RAR and Franconia.
Because I think the scene really blew up 12, 13 is whenever it started going
and that was
bananas.
Fort Worth and McKinney?
Yeah.
So nothing in Dallas proper, really.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize if I'm missing somebody, but yeah.
So 2009, you brewed your first batch of beer.
Yep, I think so.
Turned that wort into alcohol.
Yep, it was a blast. Got immediately hooked, and it took over my life and our home. And I joined a local homebrew club and ran into a bunch of really knowledgeable people. Every vacation hour that I had, I spent at a brewery volunteering. And then I guess on our second wedding anniversary, at some point we got married. On our second
Let that little
wedding
detail out. You got married, though. Awesome.
My wife and I were on the way to Fredericksburg for a little romantic trip, and I made her drive, and I wrote our first business plan, which eventually got thrown out. But
was it tacos? Tell me about the first business plan.
We were going to do, well, not even the first business plan didn't have any food involved. It was production brewery. But our first food concept was burritos.
Real quick, though, going back, so you said production brewery. What made you change your mind? Because obviously this saved your career, I think, is switching from production brewing company to a brew pub. What was the turning point, or what really turned that light bulb on to say, hey, you know what, we need to offer more than just beer?
Well, it kind of goes back to the reason I wanted to get into beer. I mean, it was right for the times, and it was right for me and my family. I wanted, unlike furniture, where it's, I'm making $15,000 pieces of furniture that my friends can't afford, I can't afford. I wanted to be able to shake the hand and talk to the person who's enjoying my creation. And I felt like everyone could enjoy a pint at a time, for $5. Everyone could afford that. And we were having lots of house parties, and I had a lot of beer at my house, so how do you get rid of that? Throw a party. And it just kind of
the beer that you were brewing, correct?
So, right. So I wanted that personal interaction with the people who were enjoying my product instead of just distributing it everywhere and never getting to talk to those people. I also knew that I wanted our downtown to grow and come out of this kind of slump that it was in. So I wanted to be in downtown Garland.
That was from the beginning, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That was a really... that was a hard, line. Had to be there.
So besides playing in the creek as a kid, the first time that I met Cary again was actually via the local news station, because I saw this kid with his big beard riding a bicycle throughout the neighborhood with a burrito attached to the back of it, saying he wants to open up a burrito brew pub in downtown Garland. And he was set on this old dilapidated building in downtown Garland. And that's the first time I met you and the first time that I saw you. And at that point, I mean, the market was already getting saturated. And of course, anytime there's a newcomer to the game, they're like, oh, he's not going to make it. And I would hear all of this bad chatter about, another brewery opening up. They have no idea what they're going to do. They're not going to make it. So that was the what I heard at that point from Cary at Intrinsic.
Interesting. I was excited. We got a lot of support, actually. Ended up raising $30,000 on that crowdfund campaign. And it was a keg that I was towing behind me The burrito was in the water holder.
That's right. Yeah, the burrito was in the water holder, and there was like he had like a little trolley, like a little, what would you call that thing?
Trailer.
Little trailer trolley, thing that he had attached to his bicycle with the keg attached to it. Yeah, so.
Yeah, that was 2014, so it's been a few years now. But looking back, that was one of the hardest things I ever did, was putting myself out there enough to be criticized and talked about. And kind of this pass or fail thing. It's almost like a performance. But we were fortunate to have, I guess, a really excited craft beer scene at the time, and some really good friends and family, and made it happen.
Yeah, and you made it happen, and now you're the talk of the town in Garland. I don't think there's any other restaurant that's talked more about than Intrinsic is. So I think you've really done a phenomenal job doing that. What was your lowest point that you've had so far in your restaurant career? Is there like a day, a time, a month that you were like, man, like this is really hard?
Lowest point. I mean, I like to tell the story about the day we opened, because that first impression, man, that's really hard, isn't it? We were smart, I think, and had 3 soft openings. So we sold tickets ahead of time, and it was 50 people per night. But I guess when we were getting ready to open, all of our beer just tasted terrible coming out of the taps. Tasted good straight out of the tank, but coming out of the taps, it tasted like plastic.
And at that point, there's no like remaking all that beer.
No. The beer was good. I just couldn't get it like out of the taps right. And then I looked at the lines. It was good quality lines. I called the manufacturer or the sales people, the Fox Equipment, great company, but they said, "Oh yeah, that line's actually been recalled." I'm like, man.
And you have how many hours?
I've got hundreds of feet of this beer line that's ruining everything.
And hours and and I assume the hours to replace it.
Hours
to replace it.
So I called one of our crowdfunders from RSI. They do the refrigeration specialists. I think that's what RSI stands for, actually.
Okay.
I was like, "Hey man, what do I do?" And he goes, "I've got some trunk lines. They're glass insulated lines. No flavor contamination for 50 years. That kind of really good high quality stuff." And he drove up there and had pulled out a box of fittings off his truck and helped me hook up stuff. And as people were walking in the door, I was hooking up the last line. So
you were sweating so hard, like sweating major bullets, because like in the restaurant business, you only get one shot. And if everybody says your beer, and especially in the craft beer industry, which is like 10 times more scrutinizing than the food business.
Right. So I've got busted knuckles.
Yeah.
Dealing with, sharp stainless parts and tubes and, clamps.
Because I'm sure you're like nervously like putting everything together.
Yeah, I'm in a 40-degree cold room sweating.
Yeah, wow.
And then people are rolling in, and everybody, the whole staff is on edge, right? Because they don't know what to do. It's the first day, right? And everybody has a question for you, and your customers are excited, and they want to talk to you. So I walk out of that cold room having to
be the man,
pretend
sure
everything's perfect. Yeah. And I wouldn't say that was the lowest point. It was a beautiful day. It was, people were very kind, and my staff did an excellent job, and the beers tasted great, and the food was good. And so, but that was just kind of one of those, like, that sinking moment.
Yeah.
When you don't know what to do.
Yeah, the butterflies in your stomach.
A little bit.
All those things.
And then you just got to slap yourself in the face and
make it happen.
And I don't know if you've experienced that before, and I just kind of want our listeners to know that might happen to you. It might not.
I think it probably will happen, actually. At one point, it's going to happen.
But if it does, think of your strengths, rely on your team, don't be afraid to reach out. People actually, for the most part, I think, enjoy being needed, or when you call someone for help, if you're not, that type of person that's a pain all the time.
Sure. But a genuine call for help.
Yeah. It's
people are there for you.
I want to help that guy.
Exactly.
You, especially personalities I think like you and I, we were willing to help them in return or first.
Mm-hmm. So, being in business now for going on 4 years, how do you balance the work-life balance with the family and your leisure time and work and all the things? Like, what do you do as a restaurant owner to keep that balance? Because I think balance is key to longevity.
Well,
We talk about burnout a lot, and we talk about people getting burnt out across all platforms. And when people do burn out, they just shut down and quit. And I think to have that balance is so important.
I don't think I'm the best person to give advice on that.
I don't think any restaurant owners is.
I think I've said it before. You have to realize what you're getting into, and that it is going to be very hard work for a long time. But always, I think I could have started earlier, but not have this mentality like I'm the best person for every job. Try to hire people that are better than you at those jobs and let them do it. Even if they don't, I teach them how you want it done, but if they don't do it exactly how you want it done, if it's successful,
embrace that success.
Embrace it, right, and cultivate that. And then I guess I'm just kind of focusing more this year on working myself out of a job. And I've gotten really lucky with a couple of key employees. You've heard me talk about Chase and Josh and Brendan and Travis and AJ about how they really have my back, and they've been there long enough to where they understand the vision. So that's kind of all I got.
Yeah. So that's really great. Yeah, I mean that's it. Whenever you have people, I think that's a great strategy to have that work-life balance. I do the same thing with my culinary staff, and I try to always have like a few key front of house employees that can help me close down the restaurant so I can actually have time with my wife and my family. Mm-hmm. Nevertheless, I still get those phone calls and I can still get those things that distract me, but I try as hard as I can. That way I'm in it for the long game.
Right.
Thing.
And my wife understands because she works full time with me. So I try to make our schedules to where our off times align. She has time for herself, I have time for myself, and we have time together.
Exactly. All right. Well, I know we're running out of time. I got like 2 more questions for you. So, one more question to know a little more about Cary Hodson. Obviously, I think there's no one else in this immediate industry like where we're at right now. I don't know too many people, but I just know just from what I see that is ambitious and like motivated as you are. That's why I think we click so well, because we're kind of on that same path of like just like hunger. We're both young restaurant owners. We're both in our early 30s. I don't think we're just like settling down like in our like late 60s where we're just complacent. So my question is to you is like, what's your 5-year goal? Like where is Cary Hodson 5 years from now?
I hope that Cary Hodson is ready and able to identify a new opportunity. I don't always know all the solutions or all the answers, and I don't always have the perfect plan, because I've made plans before and they, sometimes you got to throw them out anyways. And if you get too stuck on this is what needs to happen, this is my future, then you may miss your future. So just, being wise with my time and my money, and creating relationships, to where when I see the right thing, I'll be able to seize it. So I don't know what that means.
Sure.
Exactly.
It's so tough, I think, and I think you can relate to this too. Is like sometimes we get so caught up in our day-to-day work, or I guess in our instance, we're like our month-to-month work, because I think we're always planning 1 month in advance type thing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you forget to reach out every now and then to that 5-year goal,
right? Which
I think is important as entrepreneurs or as restaurant owners.
I do that for my business, but personally, it's a little harder to answer that question.
It's tough, because I think, I don't know, for me, I have every now and then I think about my 5-year goal type thing, but sometimes you just get so caught up in this like frivolous like game that we're in right now, today, or like next month. Like I got a plan for St. Patty's Day next month that I'm like what's the bigger goal, 5 years from now?
Sure.
And I think sometimes we talk off air about different, concepts or ideas, and it's always fun, and it's always invigorating to have kind of like that bigger game plan.
Right. And your family has to be on board too. So really, I guess, taking the time to define what you want your future to look like. Do we want to double down and have multiple locations? We don't have kids yet. Do we want to have kids? There's a lot of those questions that come into play. For Intrinsic, I think it's in our namesake that we're deeply rooted, naturally belonging. I want to always be known as the brew pub in downtown Garland, and I think, or the barbecue place, the brewery, and I think we've done a pretty good job at that. I'm not afraid. I would even welcome another winery or brewery opening up in the same neighborhood, because I know that we provide our customers and our friends with a genuine, unique experience, and they know how connected we are to our community. And so we've put in our roots, and I think just strengthening that for the long term, we're going to be around in the next 5 years.
Love it. Love it. Now, one last question, and this is actually for all of our viewers. If you could, just in the 6 years of you've been in business, like, what could you give our viewers that want to open up a restaurant? Like, I want to open up a restaurant, Cary. Like, what's your advice? Like, what do you have, like, for me? Like, what do I do? I'm 18 years old. Maybe not 18. I'm 23 years old. Okay, I'm younger. I'm 23 years old. I'm super ambitious. I've been working as a chef at a restaurant. I saved up all this money, and I want to open up a business, a restaurant business, a brew pub,
sure,
in Alaska.
In Alaska.
Hey, there's good.
Listen to Real Restaurant Radio.
What do I do to be successful? Like, how do I make it, Cary?
Plan for everything, but be flexible when it comes down to it. Be well funded, of course. And I think something that I wish I would have done was to get the word out earlier. I think we did an okay job about it.
I think you did more than okay.
But like when we were starting our crowdfund campaign, I wish I was kind of waiting for that big announcement, and that the video to come out, and yada, yada, yada. But start that buzz a little earlier. And then don't ever be competitive in spirit with the other people around you. Always be collaborative. I think that does well for you as an individual. When you reach over and shake someone's hand, it makes them open up to you. They're willing to help you. You have more people to...
I think sometimes it works that way. Sometimes some restaurant owners want nothing to do with you.
Well, you'll find that out really
Yeah.
quickly. And you know what? You're going to do better than them, I would think.
I think so.
So don't be afraid to reach out for help in that regards.
Wow. Well, that was a lot. I thought that was really cool. I learned something today that I didn't know about you, Cary, about being held up at gunpoint. That's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so much. That's like so much knowledge of information there that I just took in, and I hope you guys did too. And I just, like I said, I just kind of threw this on Cary just now. I think sometimes it's hard for us to talk about ourselves because we're spending so much of our time praising other people and talking about other people and uplifting other people. But I just really wanted to like let everybody know like who Cary is and like why like I want him to do this podcast with me and like why we're sitting in this room together every week, giving you guys information, because I think he's probably the best person to have in this room with me to give you guys this information. So honor and a pleasure as always.
Thank you, Kostas. You're a great host.
An awesome episode of Real Restaurant Radio, episode 14 in the books. We hope to see you guys next Monday at 7 a.m. And if you want to leave us any information at all, we always love to have your feedback. You can email me at Kostas@realrestaurantradio.com.
Cary at realrestaurantradio.com.
And we will see you guys next week.
Cheers.
Cheers, Cary.